Hello, 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 and welcome to another Win Daily Show. My name is Michael Raziel, and I am with my man, Adam. It's Strangest, right? I didn't
It
even
is,
ask. It is
it,
Strangest.
it is Stranded. Yeah, you're good.
Oh, Strangest. See, no, I didn't even get it right. I'm here with my man, Adam Strangest at Buckin for Life. Love that, by the way. We are here to break down the 8-5 MLB slate for everybody, so hang out and make some money with us because Adam has been pulling a lot of weight over here with this hurricane. A couple of our writers, unfortunately, are down. So Adam did all the possible research for today. So I thought, who better to get to come on the show than Adam? So how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. Fortunately, the other writers are all okay.
Yes,
Nothing too serious, but a lot of guys without power and things like that. So obviously makes that a little bit difficult to write. So
absolutely.
happy to kind of help out, and hopefully we'll help out people watching the live stream tonight and get somebody into the money.
Let's get a bunch of people in the money. Yes, all our writers are okay. One thing I will say, no power means no electricity. No electricity means no internet, and no electricity also means no air conditioning. So really
Oh,
prayers
good.
up to those guys. Hopefully they can make it out alive. We know Brian has kids too, so I sincerely have no idea what the heck he's gonna do. So really, Brian, please be safe, be well, and don't make the situation any worse than it could be. So Adam, yeah, let's just hop right into it. We as we do, we are checking out the DraftKings slate today. Just want to go over some of the pitchers. We did have some very confusing news. We were told Mike Clevenger wasn't going to start, and then we were told he is going to start, and it looks like he will be starting.
That's
So
McCullers.
McCullers, who did I say?
You
Clevenger.
said
My
Clevenger.
bad. I take it up. Hands up, hands up. Yes, McCullers, Lance McCullers Jr. of the Astros may or may not be starting. It looks like he has a green check mark, which usually means he will be starting. So we'll see. And we will go under the assumption that he is, but just be on the lookout for that one. We still have a little while till lineup lock, obviously. So we will see what happens there. But with that weird information that we get out of the way, Adam, as again, you did all the research you could possibly do for today. Who are some of the pitchers that you're really looking to grab, especially here on the DraftKings side, where we get to throw a couple of these guys in our lineup?
Yeah, so when I first opened up the slate, I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't like many of the pitching options. I'm not a guy who generally will pay into the 5-figure range for a pitcher unless it's a DeGrom or a Garrett Cole. And while Yu Darvish can certainly have a really good start tonight, I wrote him up for the strikeout prop. I'm not too inclined to pay up at the 10-4 mark when I can get my Clevenger for 1,200 less, and I think he's a little bit underpriced. Clevenger hasn't started off super well as far as strikeouts, which is generally what you need at that price range. But we all know how talented he is. If you look, his curveball is getting hit a little bit more than it was last year. That's coming with an 800 batting average on balls in play, which is just insane.
That's absurd.
I mean, it obviously, still a small sample size. Guys have only had 2 starts, but an 800 BABIP is just not going to stay the same. I mean, it's just not possible. So I really think Clevenger is kind of your building block, especially in cash, where I just think he's really an underpriced option. He's the guy that I'm looking to anchor those 2 pitchers with tonight.
And even going up against that Cincinnati offense, which again, it was touted as going to be one of the best offenses coming into the league. Nick Castellanos, I think he already has 6 dingers on the year, very much on that MVP pace. I know a couple guys over here took those futures a while back. Does that lineup not scare you as much as it might scare other people?
It doesn't scare me enough to get off of a talented pitcher. Generally, I'm a guy who, when you have a pitcher like Clevenger that has that ceiling, I'm willing to gamble when they're underpriced, when they're even up against, an offense that should be good but hasn't exactly fully clicked in yet. Plus, you have Mike Moustakas out, which, hurts that offense a little bit as well.
Yes, that is also another piece of information. It does look like he won't be starting. And also, if I'm not mistaken, last night when I was looking at this slate, wasn't Luis Castillo supposed to start?
I think he might have been. Their schedule's been a little bit weird. They've
Yeah,
had a
that's
lot of rainouts
yeah.
and a lot of
All right.
other stuff going on. So, but it's funny you bring up their starter because in GPPs, you have to take risk. And we talk about it in Discord. When you're looking at GPP, your goal is to pretty much finish first or dead last. And we're talking about possibly finishing dead last. I'm kind of looking at the red starter tonight, TJ Antone. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I had any idea who this guy was before I opened up the slate, but he's $4,000. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you just don't get pitchers like that. He made his major league debut. He put up 16 DK points. And yeah, the Cleveland offense on paper is scary, but they're pretty much the American League version of the Pirates right now. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
they have the talent to break out of it at any moment, and this could really blow up in your face. But the Indians are sitting in the bottom 5 of about every major offensive category, and they're striking out a ton right now. If you even get 15 from Antone, you're sitting pretty for $4,000 for a pitcher.
Yeah, that's definitely hitting value. That's exactly what we're looking for. And yeah, it is crazy to think that the Indians, um, they have the talent, as we know. Obviously, Francisco Lindor, obviously Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, but they just haven't been able to get out of it, out of this weird beginning of the season funk that they're in. But I am very confident that they will be able to do that, and they will start to be able to put runs on the board. But they haven't yet. So let's maybe roll those dice, as you said. I mean, if you could pay 4K for a pitcher, you're definitely putting yourself in some good spots. So, any other pitchers here that strike your fancy a little bit? Again, maybe in some of these cash games, or maybe not one as crazy as Antone.
Yeah, so definitely, Antone's not a cash play. Where I'm looking at, so I can still have a little bit of money left over for some bats to build, because we're going to get into some pretty pricey stacks here in a minute. Again, I didn't really know who this guy was before I opened up the slate, but I look and I see it's Randy Dobnak for the Twins.
Mm.
I see he's fully stretched out to 94 pitches in his last game, and I see he's against the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's about enough for me, because I just mentioned that the Indians are the AL version of the Pirates. The Pirates are, without exaggeration, the worst, and I mean the worst offense in baseball. And they're striking out nearly 28% of the time, which is a huge shift from them from last year. Last year, they were actually a tough offense to strike out. They weren't a good offense, but you weren't getting a ton of ceiling. Dobnik at 7,200 kind of fits in pretty nicely for the cash games, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think again, if you guys can't hear it in Adam's voice, the sadness that comes from when talking about the Pirates, he is very much a Pirates fan, so I respect what he is rocking with there. And yes, you have to, sometimes we have to attack some of these weak teams. Unfortunately, that is just the way it goes. So there are a couple pitching plays. Again, looks like we're fading Darvish a little bit. I'm never really on Ryu, and especially against that Atlanta offense, who finally has figured out how to heat up. I don't think this is the place. Lance McCullers, let's just watch out on that one. I think, he obviously has the skills. We've seen what he could do a couple years ago coming off injury now. So we'll wait and see on that one, especially considering we got conflicting reports already saying if he
Right.
will or will not be starting. I guess with the any other weird pitchers you have on here? I think that's a pretty good. Yeah, we don't need to talk about Robbie Ray. So yeah, let's move into these stacks a little bit. And I think the most important one that we do have to or get to talk about is this Coors Field stack. I know the Giants as an offense have actually been a little better than people expected this year. Rockies haven't quite been as electric at home, but they are continuing to win. How are you looking at this Rockies Giants game? And I guess which team and why is it the Rockies are you picking to stack the most?
Yeah, I think whether you're in GPP or cash, I mean they're definitely going to carry some popularity. You look at the Giants starter, Logan Webb. This is going to be his first start in Coors Field, which is always a challenge. In his limited sample size, when he's been away from San Francisco, his ERA is over 5 on the road, which is not a huge surprise, since San Francisco can kind of shelter some young pitchers as they learn the ropes. But Coors is not nearly that forgiving. So in his very short career, it's just a little bit under 38 innings. The righties have done more of the damage. So to me, I'm kind of looking at Arenado and Story right off the bat. I would have looked at Matt Kemp, but he's not in the lineup this evening. So I think kind of the first two men in, they're going to be the most popular ones. It's going to be Arenado and Story.
And Arenado hasn't really been the Arenado that we know of the past. And again, he's very much going to break out of that slump.
Exactly.
I'm very confident in that there. But I like the fact that you said, we're going to try and attack some of these righties and really get them bats in the lineup and see what we can do. I mean, we're not running a 2-man core stack, are we? There's got to be a couple more that we're looking to shove in there, right?
No, I mean you can definitely go with Daniel Murphy. Sitting at first base, 51, not like the best price ever. I think you're only playing him, if you're doing kind of a full stack. You can go a little bit cheaper with guys like Tapia hitting 7th, Sam Hilliard hitting 8th, Tony Walters, even if he's he's hitting 9th. You can kind of do a bit of a wraparound stack if you really want to go to Coors. But if you're going to anchor your lineup with Clevenger, you really can't afford
Yeah.
Murphy, Dahl, Blackman, the stack that you would really want to. So doing the wraparound for cores is kind of interesting to me. If you're still looking at spending up on pitching.
Hmm.
If you're not, that's where a guy like Antone comes in. Maybe you pair him with Dobnak and you just go full Coors Field all out.
And you just take the bats and run, man. And
Yep.
I love that. And just for everybody out there listening, wraparound stack, meaning we start at the bottom of the lineup and come back around so we can get those 7-8-9-1-2 hitters, or 8-9-1-2-3 hitters, or even 9-1 through 1-9-1-2-4.
Right.
That way you are really making sure you're getting a chunk of that lineup all in a row, figuring it out. In terms of the Giant side, is there anything that you're looking to get there? I mean, Yastrzemski's been pretty great, but I mean, their offense hasn't been that fantastic this whole year. Are you looking at anything from that side of the game?
I'm not super interested in that. I do think there's some better stacks and some better values. Look, it's cores. John Gray can be hit and miss for
Hmm.
sure. I'm not always a huge fan of paying up for kind of average offenses when they go to cores. I think the Giants, certainly fall into that category, even though they've been a little bit better than we thought. I wouldn't classify them as a good offense. Yesterday I tried to attack Herman Marquez with the lefties because it's always been his big issue is lefties and cores, but
Hmm.
didn't really work out. I do think there's some better stacks on the board other than the Giants tonight.
Yeah, I love it. So let's move on to another one of those. Let's go over to this Atlanta Toronto game. Um, Huge fan of the Blue Jays. You probably, I mean, you don't really care about the Braves, I guess. I mean, they're in the East. I mean, I don't like the Braves, as everybody can see out there. But I mean, Acuna is starting to heat up, man. He finally, the Mets got away from him and they let him, I think in that last game, go 2 for 3 or 2 for 4 with a dinger and a double and a couple RBI. I mean, how are you looking to attack this Atlanta stack? And where exactly are you trying to pay up for guys like Freeman and Acuna? Now knowing, if I'm not mistaken, Ozzy Albies is, or Freeman's not in the game either.
Freeman's not
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So
I
you're,
knew
you're
Albies was
missing
out. Okay.
So you're missing Freeman. Albies hit the IL today, and honestly, I think that might actually lower the interest in the Atlanta stack, which has me kind of even more interested on that side of it because you take Freeman and Albies out, that's going to take some of the interest away, but you still have Acuna. You have guys like Swanson, Ozuna, Travis d'Arnaud. You have Duvall. You have Riley. You have all these options. And look, Ryu has really struggled to start the year off. His velocity is down across the board. His FIP is over 5. His fly balls are up. His hard contact's up. Like if you just look at all his metrics, you can kind of see why he's struggling right now. Is it, maybe he just wasn't quite ready to start the season? That's certainly possible. Maybe it just comes back and he's a talented pitcher that we know. But, until he proves otherwise, I think he's worth stacking against. And I think Atlanta could come in pretty low given some of their missing star power tonight.
Yeah, and I think it is a good point. Dansby Swanson's been great this year. Now
Yeah,
maybe it just has been against the Mets because I feel like the Braves have played the Mets mostly and put up most of their runs against the Mets, considering they had a 14 and an 11 run game against them. But I mean, Dansby Swanson's been great this year. Marcelo Zuna at one point only about a week ago was hitting like 375. Travis d'Arnaud, I'm probably a little off him only because I think he's more of a Mets killer now than anything else. But I mean, you can grab Adam Duvall. You can grab
yeah.
Austin Riley, and I mean that is a stack, and you still have 3,900 per player left over, and one of those spots is a catcher, meaning you can really go out and you can, if you really wanted to, you could put Travis d'Arnaud in here, but it might make first base and second base a little. Well, and I guess you can't. You'd have to play around with this, but I mean, in terms of that, like who exactly? How are you looking to build this Atlanta stack? I guess from that standpoint.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's mostly going to be, I'm looking at like the main three would be Acuna, and then Adam Duvall, and then you could possibly put Riley in that outfield spot. But if not, you can go with d'Arnaud. And again, it might make things a little bit interesting with the first base, but you can also in GPP you don't have to play Corey. You can take out Arenado and Story. You can
Mhm.
play around and put Austin Riley at third. You can put Dansby Swanson into shortstop, especially in GPP. If Coors flops, it's a decent sized percentage of the field every night.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah, and I think it could definitely be pretty interesting to see. We could throw Austin Riley in there again. You have about $4,000 per player. Again, that caveat is you're playing Mike Clevenger and Mr. Dobnak, as we all know and love him over there for the Twins. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting stack to make. I think again, Acuna is not a bad place to start, considering again how
Never is.
flipping hot he's been. Beginning of the year, he had to face DeGrom. He didn't look so great. Didn't get off to a hot start, but ever since then, he's been looking pretty good. As you said, one of the teams we're probably going to have to pick on a little bit this year is the Pirates. From a pitching standpoint, we're going to want to play against them, but also from a hitting standpoint, they're not very good on either side of the ball, unfortunately. One thing I know you wanted to build a little bit, potentially a Minnesota stack. Minnesota is well known for crushing the ball. I mean, Nelson Cruz has been absolutely scorching to start the year. Max Kepler, I think, has 3 or 4 dingers already. Who are you looking at here from this Minnesota standpoint, and how are you trying to attack poor Trevor Williams?
Yeah, so Trevor Williams has been a bit odd in his first 2 starts. Usually he really struggles with the lefties. So far this year, it's been the righties doing more of the damage. Now, for me, when 2 starts kind of go against the whole career, I'm still going to lean on the career numbers. So let's say you want to play Arenado and Story, but that's all the exposure quarters you want. Man, the Twins work super well with those positions, because if you're going for the lefties, you can plug in Max Kepler, you can plug in Rosario, you can plug in Luis Arez, and then you can even go down to Jake Cave. That gets you, a ton of Minnesota exposure. Pretty much right through the heart of that lineup. You just skip over Nelson Cruz, and that still leaves you with $4,000 for a first base and a catcher, which we can always punt catcher.
Mm-hmm.
You can still have a really nice first baseman. You still get cores. You have a nice Minnesota stack, and you still have Clevenger.
That's not bad, man. You can get those course bats in there, or even those
Twins work perfectly with a 2-man core stack, man.
I think that would be absolutely fantastic. And it looks like you can even do a little Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, Travis d'Arnaud as well in there, depending on how exactly you want to play around with this. But I think that could be a huge opportunity too. And yeah, man, I mean, these Twins, it's hard to bet against them. We saw what they did last year, only setting the record for the number of home runs in a 162 game season. I'm confident they're going to set the record for the number of home runs in a 60 game season now too. They are off to a scorching hot start, which is always fun to watch. So let's move on. We got one more that we want to talk about that we're really excited to get in a little bit here. So let's move on to those Houston. And by the way, the Dodgers are playing, so stack the Dodgers, as our good friend Brian Tulloch at Two Lock Sports would like to say. Just stack the Dodgers.
Just every day.
Yeah, you could hardly ever go wrong. If we have to tell you to stack the Dodgers right now, thank you for joining Win Daily Sports. Hop over to windailysports.com, get into our expert Discord chat, hang out with Adam, hang out with Brian, all the incredible writers that we have here, and you will quickly find out. Just stack the Dodgers, at least one of your lineups. You're probably going to do just fine. So let's look at this Astros lineup. We all know them. We all hate them, but we're all excited to play them because they are starting to warm up a little bit. Who here exactly are you looking at from this Astros side of things? Now, looking at these prices, they are crazy expensive. So this might be another good team to match the Twins with too, especially because we can pay down. But talk to me a little bit about these Astros.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think you're going to have a tough time fitting in Astros and cores unless you go the super punt route of pitchers. But everybody made some noise. Right towards the end of draft season, towards when the season started, Robbie Ray had these new mechanics, and he was going to be great, and he got everything figured out. And well, that's just not the case at all. Ray has been terrible through his first 2 starts. His walks per 9 is 9.72, which is just utterly absurd. I don't care if it's 8 innings or not. The FIP's 828, the XFIP's 658. And let's face it, we all know this Astros lineup is just set up to destroy lefties. You have Springer at the top, Altuve, Bregman, Correa. Carlos Correa is still super cheap at 43. If you wanted to look at the cheap pieces and potentially fade the top end stars, you could leave off Bregman and Altuve, and then you could still go Correa, Yuli Gurriel, who's only 4,100, and Martin Maldonado. Again, you could do a wraparound stack. He's batting 9th. He's only 28. He's the perfect punt catcher for me.
I love that. Yeah. And again, with these pitchers, that definitely gives us some money to play around with. If you want the top end of that Minnesota lineup, if you want the top end of this Astros lineup and maybe grab some of those lower owned or lower lineup guys in the Twins, maybe a little opportunity here to still stick in a couple of those cores guys, especially because we have second and third base open. So we could play around with that a little bit. So it's a fun slate. I mean, I'm enjoying these full slates. Hopefully everyone's done with, going out to casinos, or I think Derek Jeter said some of his Marlins players went out to get a milk I
I
mean, come
mean,
on, man. What are we
who
doing?
doesn't go out to get a milk at
Exactly.
at 25 years old on the road as an MLB player? I mean,
What
who hasn't?
what else are you possibly looking for in a beautiful city like Atlanta than going out to grab a milk? So
Yeah.
it's something, man. So hopefully everybody does start to figure it out, and we can get these full slates, these full lineups back. I want to see Cardinals players in there. I want to see Phillies. I want to see more Yankees, Nationals. Marlins have been crushing it for some reason. Granted, they've played 4 games, but they're in first place in the NL East. I mean, at any point in the season after 2 games, did anyone think that would happen?
Still
I do
counts.
not. Yes, it still counts. Their Twitter account sent out a screenshot of the standings, which I thought was pretty awesome. So that was pretty great. And we actually do have one question here from Spence Nat, SPENCNAT, and it's the perfect question. He is asking: is Frazier a cheap leadoff bat for your Adam Stranges, your Pittsburgh Pirates? Are you looking at any of that lineup at all at any point?
You can certainly make the argument like eventually law of averages, the top end of that lineup has to produce. So if you love your lineup and you find yourself, okay, I have no money left and I can get Adam Frazier as a leadoff guy, I don't hate it. I really never will if you can get somebody cheap leading off, regardless of how bad the offense is.
I love it. Yeah. Again, if you couldn't hear it in his voice, everybody, I could, and I think that's the important part. But his
There's,
Penguins are winning. They won the
there's a
other
lot of pain
night.
there.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of pain. Penguins are winning, though. I think you're going to be fine, and they will not be getting that first spot. But that's NHL talk. We don't need you for that. We need to get Matt Rogers on here. We need to get Matt Vecchio on here to talk a
That's
little
right.
NHL for us. But everybody, thank you both. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Adam, where can everybody find you on Twitter?
You mentioned it before, but it is at Buckin for Life, BUCN, the number 4, LIFE.
LIFE. I type it all the time because Adam has been crushing it on the articles here over at Win Daily Sports. Make sure to go to Win Daily Sports at Win Daily Sports on Twitter, windailysports.com. If you're interested in joining, we have a free 3-day membership, windailysports.com/learn daily. We're trying to help you learn the processes behind DFS, behind sports betting, and get you to be better at it. So you can not only just take Adam's information and win a lot of money, but you can contribute as well and help others. And rising tide lifts all boats, man. Rising tide lifts all boats. So Adam, sincerely appreciate you tonight helping everybody else out there. We're about an hour away from lock. So I hope you get your lineups in and everybody else out there gets their lineups in. You can find me at Michael Raziel 1, and I hope everybody makes it a very profitable MLB night.